So we just need, oh. Press that down,
Yep.
and then take that off. Okay, welcome everybody to the April 25th, 2024 Historic Preservation Commission meeting. This is a regular meeting of the Montclair Historic Preservation Commission. Notice has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting a copy of the notice on the first floor of the municipal building and by sending a copy to the Montclair Times, the Star Ledger, and the Herald News. We are being broadcast live on Channel 34 Montclair, and we are also being remotely streamed on YouTube. We have fierce competition tonight because the mayoral debates are taking place as we speak. So our tech person is not here tonight, so we will remain live throughout the meeting. We will have no dead zones, so just for everyone to know. Fawa, would you please take the roll?
Of course. Kathleen Bennett,
Present.
Michael Graham,
Here.
John Reimnitz,
Here.
Stephen Rooney,
He's been excused.
okay. Nicholas Giuliano,
Here.
Janine Bauer, Stephen Smolin.
Here.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to welcome Stephen Smolin. He is our new HP consultant. So he has looked over over the two applications that we have tonight. And I know that our applicants have received copies of his review. So moving forward, we go to approval of the minutes. And we have to approve the minutes of January 18th, 2024, and also February 22nd, 2024. So for the January 18th, 2024, is everyone here present that can vote? Mr. Reimnitz? Okay, so Mr. Reimnitz has to, were you listed as present on January?
January 18th?
January 18th.
Okay, well, maybe I was here then. I've gone for at least one of them by now.
This is when the Jackson Bank's application was heard.
The what?
Jackson Bank's, the 330 Bellevue Avenue, I think it was there.
Which project?
That was, sorry.
It was Bloomfield Avenue, 330 to 334 Bloomfield Avenue.
Oh, is this the restoration of the church? Yeah. This was the former church property that's now an office complex. They moved the sculpture park. Is that the one we're talking about?
No, no. January, the January one
Oh,
is
that was
the,
on- Sorry.
is
We also have Erie Street where
the dance.
the dance studio. I think you were there because I remember.
I was here.
I think,
Hold on.
wait, I think you recused yourself from one of the votes, or was that from?
Was Silver's project?
Let me see.
You recused yourself from Mr. Silver's project.
Yes,
Okay, then I was.
yes.
Okay.
And then, I was not here for that initial application, so I can only vote on a portion of the minutes.
Okay, so how many people do we have to vote on this? Two? For the January 18th meeting?
18th meeting.
I can vote on the second half of the
Okay.
minutes.
So before we move forward, there are a couple of, maybe there aren't, I'm sorry. No,
No, there what?
no, but my question, Fawa, is on page 2, lines 7 through 10, where you have a partial approval of minutes from December. I didn't understand what that was, but that was when I had to recuse myself. But those lines, hold on.
Like you've approved half of them, you were there for half, remaining half of the minutes. to approve some. You didn't approve all of them.
Right, so let's go to the December 14th. It's just a question of context. It says Ms. Bennett was sworn in for cross-examination. That's when I came back in. And then I think the next two things are the exhibits that they offered, which is A2 and A1. I just don't know, it's out of context. Do you see? December 14th, page 3.
I don't have December minutes.
You don't have that, okay.
But December, wait, wait.
Do you see what that means?
Are we,
This is December 14th.
I have December 14 minutes.
Okay, so look on page 3, and line 27 through 29. Line 27 says Ms. Bennett was sworn in for cross-examination, and then it says A2 and point,
It's just, I'll revise it.
it's the exhibits,
Yeah,
correct?
the applicant introduced exhibits.
Right, so that's all you need, that's,
So the applicant introduced those exhibits.
Okay.
okay, so, thank you. So, we come back to the minutes of January 18th. Does anyone have any comments of for those?
just had a minor change. I think it noted sculpture garden, it's the sculpture park, it's page 6, line 33. The commission asked where the sculpture garden, I think it just should be sculpture park, because that's how they list it on their website.
Okay. So it's, any other changes or amendments? No? All right, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of January 18th as amended?
Move to approve as amended.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to February 22nd. Now, here, John is not here.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yes.
So can everyone vote on these minutes because Mr. Grant
Oh,
recused himself?
correct.
And Mr. Grant also recused himself.
Well, I was late on the January meeting, I believe, so I think I can only vote on on the second half of those minutes. The,
So Janine, how do we break the minutes up then?
If there's no, it depends on whether there's any amendments to the
There's not a lot of them,
part when Mr. Graham was in.
which is the park thing. Parking garden.
Were you here for that?
Yeah,
which part?
8 Hillside Avenue, you heard the application.
That was that was the sculpture garden, sculpture
Right.
park. Yes, I was here for that application.
So he can vote,
Yeah.
okay. And can John vote on that?
I was here for, that was Silver's project, right?
Yes.
I can't- No, I recused myself.
Okay, so we have one
Yeah.
recusal.
So the three of you can vote.
So the three of us vote, and we all voted yes.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, then moving on to February 22nd, 2024 minutes. John was not here. John was not here, okay. So I have one thing on page 2, under advisory design review, February 1st, 2024. It says Miss Bennett, a member of the Montclair History Center. It should be Miss Bennett and Helen Fallon. Helen Fallon is a member of the Montclair History Center. So you have to add her name.
Helen, how do you spell that?
Fallon, F-A-L-L-O-N. And then just a minor change on page 4, which is the second to last paragraph. The Historic Preservation Commission recommended that the building be more consistent with the building materials of the Wheeler Street area. Additional brick exteriors would be more appropriate, and you should, rather than 4, it should be,
What line is
it's,
35.
yeah, I don't-
On page 4,
it? Okay, I found it.
yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have that.
right here.
Yeah, it should be more appropriate rather than fiber cement. Any other amendments?
I had a few. On page 2, line 22, it says Paul Sions
Right,
instead of Sionis. Page 2, Page 2, line 33, just a period after Mount Hebron, after Mount, from Mount Hebron School. Line 39, comma, after application. And then on page 4, line 4, 2 to 4 family residences, and it should be
Oh.
low-rise walk-up. And then I had some non-substantive stylistic changes. I don't know if that's something we should talk about now, but...
Yes, before we vote on it. So-
All right, so I would say, for page 4, line 12, I would just rephrase that. I would say, the facade incorporated brick detailing, comma, and balcony cutouts on the second and third floor take advantage of Glenfield Park views. Page 4, line 17, I would say, remove the or between cement and stucco, and then just add a slash between and or, wood. And then, that one's fine. For line 24, I would say, or line 25, starting on line 24, along Wheeler Street, the windows will be, I think it should be either one light casement or awning windows, correct?
Right.
I think I'm not sure if I misread that, but. And line 28, the commission asked that the facade facing Wheeler Street, I think we should say will be brick or other composite material.
Sorry, which line?
Line 28. And then I think I had one more. Bear with me one moment. All right, I think that's my my changes for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the three of us can vote, Nick, Mike, and myself, and John has to recuse himself, he wasn't there. So a motion to approve the minutes of February 22nd as amended.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. We have no resolutions. Committee reports. Thank you, Farwa. Farwa and I worked on the CLG grant to get our annual report in. So that's all taken care of. Okay, great. And that's an annual condition of being a CLG, a certified local government. Minor applications, we met on March 14th. The application is 2024-4, Dan and Days at 598 Valley Road. That was approved with conditions for signage. Application 2024-6, Tosco Bistro at 377 Bloomfield Avenue was approved with conditions for signage and awnings. On March 28th, we also met, and we discussed application 2024-7, Nuts and Delights at 555 Bloomfield Avenue. That was approved with conditions for both awning and signage. And on April 18th, we met 2024-8 concerning 43-51 Church Street. That was approved with conditions, and unfortunately, there was a violation with that. So can you bring us up to date with what's going on down there? I drove by today, and they've taken off the units from the front. So is there anything, are they going to come back to us with anything else?
Is this 43 Church Street?
43, yeah. The cookies.
Milk and cookies. So the building department was informed about it, and I think they have taken it down now, or they are in the process of taking it down, but it has been handled.
Okay, so one of the, it's a violation, any intrusions into the masonry need to be repaired. That's one
Okay.
thing. Will that come to you?
I think it's a building department issue, because they know about the violation, and their architect also came in with an application, with a permit application to get accepted, but that was also denied. This is a matter that happened today only.
This happened today?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think I need to follow up about if there is damage on the facade because of those appliances. I would need to ask who would be responsible for that.
Yes, because somebody has to go down and look at it now.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so let us know.
I will. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then the advisory committee met on March 14th at the Board of Ed building. It was Steve Rooney and myself. We met with the architect of the capital projects. So we met with architects and members of the Board of Education that are in charge of these projects. And the reason that we met is because the Board of Ed building and then the building next to it, which is a very early school building, it's now the pre-K building, they're doing work on the outside. So we discussed some of the trim and molding around the exterior, the gutters that are there, and the steeple that they want to take down. They need to renovate it. So they were looking to replace it completely with a different design, different proportions, and we told them, please, to take it off the building to check what the deterioration is. And from the ground, you really can't see anything, but it looked like it wasn't cracked or falling apart. So it looked like it was a condition of peeling paint and maybe some lattice or things that they keep pigeons out of. So hopefully that should come back to you as well, follow-up, because they said that if we had to do an on-site visit when they actually take the steeple down, okay? And then the Design Review Committee met online with, again, Board of Education representatives with Robert Simon and John Hess for the solar institution that they're doing on the school buildings. And unfortunately, it was a courtesy review that they gave to the planning board, so there was really nothing that we could, there was really no input that we had for them to change the positioning of the solar panels. But I'm glad you alerted us.
Yeah.
So at least,
No, as liaison to the planning board, I wanted to make sure that we at least had an additional opportunity to comment or review it. But now I think we need to revise procedure or somehow communicate better with the Board of Education to make sure that we're included in these programs. I'm not sure, these projects, I'm not sure that it would have mattered in this particular project because, the panels were placed because they needed the south-facing facade for additional sunlight. But in the future, I think our input would be beneficial for projects, including, we discussed it, the field where they removed one of the potentially historic ticket booths. So I just think moving forward, we need to have a better procedure with the Board of Education so that we're able to have more input in the outset.
and I have an update on that, but John, did you want to add?
No, I agree with that, but I disagree that we would have made some changes on what they presented.
Fair,
So,
very fair, yeah,
It
true.
was just, we didn't have a chance, so.
So an update on the Woodman Field situation. I would like to ask, maybe you, Mike, to help me compose a letter to the Board of Education, because
Happy to.
I've been made aware that on the actual plans, that the ticket booth, which is the historic ticket booth that was designed by Starrett and Van Vleck from 1920, one that was completely demolished and dumped in the dumpster was not supposed to be demolished. I saw the plan. So on the plans itself, it was not to be demolished. And I actually have a piece of a corbel that came off the ticket booth. So I think with correct architectural input, that it could be recreated. But you're absolutely right that we've been outside of the loop with whatever goes on in the Board of Ed, and I think going forward, we should ask in a polite manner that we do, that we are included. So I think putting them on notice about the ticket booth and, how it should have been, and it was just knocked down. So I think so if you and I can
I'm happy
propose that.
to
Okay.
assist with the
Okay,
letter.
great. Thank you. So education and outreach, the awards program, Preservation Awards is postponed. The form has been updated on the website. I think it's been updated with the due date to be May 30th. So we will postpone it until either June or September. So we'll see what happens with getting any prospective awards. But I do want to ask you, Farwa, which I had asked you, on our website, there's a part that pops up that says news. Do you know that when you go into the website, it says news, and it just has like things that are going on in town. It's not
On the top?
No, on the bottom. Like it pops up. I'm just wondering if you can find out if you could put an announcement that we're looking for possible preservation awards on that part of the website.
Okay.
It's called, it's just called, if you open up the website and you go down, don't go into the scheduled events, it pops up and there's 3 things.
I think we can post an announcement of sorts that the Preservation Awards deadline has been postponed, and if anyone wants to apply, they can. Something along those lines, right?
We'll make it peppy.
Yeah, make it peppy. I'll send it to you.
Okay, all right, great, that's great.
Okay.
All right, so then June 6th is June 5th and 6th is the annual New Jersey History and Historic Preservation Conference, which this year will be in Jersey City. And the theme of it is connecting history by road, rail, and river, which is actually very good. I have the schedule is out, and as an added benefit, I've been asked to speak at one of the sessions, which is going to be on June 6th at 10:15, and it's Community Ties, HPC's Community Engagement, and being a CLG. And actually, Janine, your firm is sponsoring this session. So,
really?
yeah.
Okay.
So it's interesting. It's going to be other session members are from Cranberry, and another one is from Burlington County. So it's going to be a combination of South Jersey and North Jersey. And actually, this year, being in Jersey City, they really normally don't have them north. So if you get a chance to go, we have monies available, and I get a reduced rate. No, I get a reduced rate. So if anyone here is interested, they can go. They get, HPC members are eligible to go, not for the add-ons, but for the conference, which is the Wednesday conference sessions. And there's also add-ons, so,
So is it not 125 now?
pardon me?
So based on the fee on the website, which is $125?
Yes, and then there's additions. So the 125 is what everybody can,
So based on the 125, I told you that we can sponsor 4 people.
well, let's see who wants to go. All right? I know
What are the dates again?
June 5th and 6th.
And the 5th is the one that we're able to attend through the
Right,
commission.
yes.
Okay. I would be very interested in attending.
Well, I don't think it's actually been advertised yet. I think just the people, the conference people have gotten the actual.
I think I emailed everyone the details, and then you can tell me via email.
That's what we've done in the past. But have you gotten this yet? Because you should have gotten information about it.
Not yet. I
Okay.
think you send me an email, that's all I have.
Pardon me?
You send me an email, that's what I have.
But you should be getting it from the state.
Okay.
Because
I'll look into it.
there's always been a few people, not, not the entire commission, but a couple of people have always gone. And we do have a education component that, as being a CLG, that we have to, all the members have to attend. So, excuse me, we will, we have some ideas if people aren't eligible or not available to go to this, which I think would be really interesting, but we have other things coming that we can do as well to do educational, to fulfill our educational requirements. Okay, so, Farah, where are we on the Label Street nomination?
I think, so it was presented to the Economic Development Committee,
Right,
and it was not heard, so no action. So I think that's the action that has been taken, that it's not heard.
If it's not
It's-
heard, does that mean that it's tabled, or does that mean that it is, can it be reviewed by a subsequent council?
What subsequent council?
Well, the new council that will be elected and sworn in June.
If it doesn't go to, if it's not presented to the council, then it won't be heard by it, so it didn't even go to the council. It was stopped.
I guess my question is, can the new council that's sworn in June pick it up and present it?
I mean, it can be heard if, that's what my understanding is.
Okay.
That if it goes beyond.
It wasn't voted
economic-
down, essentially, right? So,
It
it-
was not even heard, so there was no vote. That's what my understanding is. The update that I got was that it was taken to the Economic Development Committee because that's protocol, and then it was not, they didn't engage with it.
procedurally speaking, though, that does not, I guess, confine the next council from taking action, correct?
I believe so, but I would need to confirm this.
Okay. If you could look into that for us.
I will.
Procedurally, what does that mean, that it was
Okay.
not heard?
Okay.
And what are the consequences of that non-action?
Okay, I will.
Okay, thank you.
Can you enlighten us, Janine?
No, because I don't know what the committee did. If somebody tabled it, it can be picked up off the table. If it wasn't tabled and it simply wasn't presented, then anybody can do anything they want with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next governing body, the one after that.
Yeah.
But since I don't know what they did,
That's
not
wh-
heard is not
I don't really know what that means
either a
either.
motion or a non-motion under Robert's rules. I don't know what it means.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. Now, public comment. Everybody is at the other event tonight. No, as seeing that there's no public to make a comment, I'll close that session, that part of the meeting. Old business. We don't have any old business, and which moves us at 8 o'clock to new business. So our new business, our first application is a referral from the planning board. It's application 2817, 260 Bellevue Avenue, which is the Bellevue Theater. So okay, so while we're getting organized and before we swear in our applicants, I would like to just remind everybody of what this application. The project description is, the applicant has previously received approval from the HPC with the approval to install a new storefront for the retail space to the right of the building from Bellevue Avenue and to repair and improve the exterior facade of the building, which has moved along swimmingly, and it looks really good. And I think, have you finished with that? Oh, before you answer any questions. So I think that there's a couple of things that I wanted to ask you, but let's let you be sworn in first. So coming for this application, the Bellevue Theater is a key building in the Upper Montclair Business District, and it was built in 1921, and it has a Tudor Revival style to it, and it extends further down the side. We could see it up on the pictures on the screen, and it really is the showpiece of Upper Montclair. So having said that, before I describe what you're actually here for, maybe our attorney can swear you in now and state your name and your relationship to the project.
Are you both testifying?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you both testifying?
Yes.
All right, raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide tonight will be the whole truth on this application and commission?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And-
And I need the spelling of your name.
Right.
Brendan Yan, last name spelled Y-A-N. I'm with RHG Architecture Plus Design.
Okay.
And I'm Paul Sayegh, Sayegh.
Okay, thank you. So let me just give a little bit more of the historical significance. 268 Bellevue Avenue, known as the Bellevue Theater, is located in the Upper Montclair Local Historic District, and it was surveyed as part of Preservation Montclair in 1981. It was designed by J.H. Phillips and constructed in 1921 in Tudor Revival style, popular in this commercial district. It is 2.5 stories in height, and the exterior is comprised of brick, stucco, half timbering, and slate roofing. And as I mentioned before, you came before us and have already completed a lot of work on, most of the work on the front facade. And what you are looking for here is to punch out storefronts in the existing building that will be on the east side, which is on, I always called it an alley. I don't know what, if there's another word for it, but, and that's, which is shown on your site plan. And so you're going to describe what that will be, what you're proposing for that, and I'd like to keep that separate from the mural issue. So first, let's talk about what you propose to do for the east side of the building.
Yeah, sure.
There's a handheld mic, yeah.
Hi. Thank you for your time. So as mentioned here, if you can see, this is the driveway, the alley, and this is the east side, the lower right-hand corner. This is the east side of the Bellevue building. And part that we want to is to change as part of our application to the planning board is to convert that part of the building to retail use and to punch through the exterior wall. The extent is about 73 feet wide, and on one end it's about 13 feet, the other end about 15 feet. How do I advance this? To the next page? Oh. Sorry. Okay. This is just a site plan that we included just for reference, and the facade is along over here, and this portion of the building. And on the next page, which is page 3 of the handout that you have, and I would like you to drive on your focus to the lower part of the renderings. On the lower left-hand corner, that's where we want to propose for the new storefront. The system is basically aluminum and clear glass, excuse me, and with the sign band going across the top for 3 retail spaces. And also as part of our application to the planning board, we're required to put some exterior lights. So we're also showing that on the facade, these globe lights that go onto the pilasters along the pathway. And on the front part, close to the Bellevue, we'll have a separate type of lighting. It's more like a downlight. And that would go on both sides. And in addition, actually, I should mention that in addition to the east facade, the client is also interested in, Bellevue Theater is also interested in working on the west facade as well and put a mural there. So both sides will be balanced. So on the other side of the building, you also see that we'll carry the lighting through and we'll have a different, maybe more like a lettering, but the theme we have not decided yet for the public art. And as for the lighting, we are showing 3 types of lighting: the globe light, the downlight, and the one on the upper right-hand corner that just typical exit discharge lights that are required by code and also by the planning board. And I should also mention that we are putting a masonry enclosure for the exterior trash dumpster. And you can find that on the last page for the details. It's brick masonry on both ends, following the administrative code with lockable gates. And at the bottom of the page, and that is the typical storefront system for the retail spaces.
Can you go back to that? Do you have the placement of that trash enclosure on the?
It's here. I don't know if you can see it. It's right here. It's right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking. I didn't look at the updated one.
So the 3 things are the retail storefront, the exterior light, and the trash enclosure, the masonry enclosure.
Okay, thank you. Does that conclude
Sure.
your testimony then?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we'll open it up for our commissioners for questions. Why don't you go?
The globe light, what is it made out of?
Is metal and opal glass.
The storefronts that are going down the alley there, they look like they're all at different elevations. Are the interior floor at different elevations all along there?
You're talking about the lighting?
I'm talking about the storefront.
Oh, because the sidewalk slopes down, so we're maintaining the top elevation and adjust as we go. Because on the inside, the floor is also sloping too.
Inside the floor is
Because it's an
also
existing
sloping. That's
theater,
what yeah, so
yeah.
it changes, okay.
Yeah.
It looks like you're breaking it up into, are you breaking it up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 6 spaces, or am I
3
reading
retail.
4 spaces?
3 retail spaces.
3 retail spaces. And which would be the, so if I'm looking at this elevation, the small storefront to the right of the one pilaster goes with the door to the left. That whole one is a retail space, is that it?
Yeah. So if you're coming from the right, the way that you were counting it before would be the 2. If I may, it will be. So this would be 1 space here,
Okay.
and then this is the second one, and this would be the third one.
They can't put the door on the left to the left? See that last door on the left? Because the sidewalk ends at that pilaster.
Oh, isn't one of the requirements from the planning board, they have to build the sidewalk all along that facade? I saw that someplace here.
Yeah.
Is that
Yes.
correct? Yeah, so the door
Oh.
could go anywhere.
Oh, okay. But it angles, right? Is there room to put a sidewalk down to the end of to the last storefront?
Based on what we saw in the field, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Where's the property line? Is the property line the building?
Right up against the building, yeah, on this side.
So the globe lights are just, oh, they're on both facades. And you're keeping them level all the way across. The sign level all the way across. It would be, okay, I have comments, but I don't have any more questions.
Okay. Nick?
Yeah, I just have one question for now. The drawing of the east elevation on A03 there, is it just for graphic clarity that the signage above the storefront is not shown with the bronze backplate? It's not going to actually be the off-white color with dark lettering?
Yeah.
Okay,
It will get changed. yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And the material of the front of the enclosure, like the gate itself, is that just a bronze metal to match like the storefront color?
That can be, yes.
Okay.
We envision it as just solid metal
Mhm.
gate, yeah.
Okay, yeah, those are my only questions for now. Thank you.
Mike?
No questions.
I have a question. So the brick ends at, thanks, the brick ends at the front of, about a third or a quarter down. And then what is the material that you're suggesting that you punch out? What is that? Some kind of cement block? Where the storefronts are proposed?
The type of material.
What is this historic material that you're,
The historic material up on the top,
well, the whole,
sorry.
no, this isn't brick. What is this?
Oh, currently there's cement, CMU blocks,
Right, but that's original to the building?
yes.
Okay,
So we're punching through at the bottom,
right.
yes.
Right. Okay. So I have, and the two doors or the two doors on the east facade, which are the egress, the black doors, those are the emergency.
They're the existing egress doors, yes.
And then on the west side, there's one double door, this
Correct.
door? Is that there?
Yes, those are all existing doors for the theater.
Oh, and there's two on that side as well.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the same type of material, that the facade is made of the same block material as
On
the
that
east?
side, yes.
They're corresponding?
Yes.
Okay, because in the back facade is actually brick, as it is in the front.
They have both, like the pilasters, they're all made of the vertical elements, they're made of, they clad it in bricks. But in between, they're all in these bigger cement blocks.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's obvious
It's all
that.
existing.
It's obvious that the facade, that these side facades, I would say they're secondary facades. They're not the primary facade that you would use the more expensive, when it was built, the more expensive brick.
Yeah.
Okay. That was my question. Any other questions before?
Just quickly, I do recall, I know you're removing the fire escape, and you're adding stairs on the interior for an
There are
additional?
Existing stairs being used.
There are existing stairs
Yeah.
being used, so the fire escape is not necessary?
Correct.
Okay.
So
And-
you won't add another fire escape?
No.
Okay.
And then just, I see that Looks like on the doors that are being removed, on the building that is located directly on Bellevue Avenue, so you're adding windows there instead of, you're removing a door, correct? I just want to make sure I'm getting this. Right here, see how there's a door here, Chair? And it looks like they're adding windows instead of the door that's there?
Yeah, the photograph that has the fire escape on it,
Yeah.
but there's an egress door at the top of what would have been the top of the fire escape, so,
Correct. Well, because once the fire escape is removed, you don't need those doors anymore.
Well, you don't want to go out that door anymore, I
Exactly.
understand.
So we
But
wanna make sure
my
that-
question though is just the materials, are you going to be able to match you can be able to match the existing?
That's the intent, yes.
That's the intent? Okay.
so I have a question, and it sort of piggybacks on Mike's, because we don't have another photograph. On page A1, you have just half of that. You have the fire escape, and then the door, which now will become a window, and then there's a window to the right of that, or to the north of that. Is there an existing, oh, you could see it.
Yeah.
So you're putting in 2 windows in that brick facade?
No, just one window that replaces the door. The other windows, I believe, are already there.
Okay.
You just can't see them because they're covered with plywood and painted.
Oh, so you're going
Oh,
to
I
open,
see.
you'll open those?
Yeah, we're gonna replace them with new windows.
And what type of windows are you going to use there? Do you have that in the,
That, no, we don't have it, because that actually just carried over from another drawing that we have. It's not meant to be part of this. The focus was just only at the back part of the building.
but if you need,
I apologize for that.
approval for, if you're going to put new windows in there as well. And so we need to know what type of windows you're going to put in.
I think we're gonna put
Would
the same
be-
windows that are in the front, not the diamond pane ones,
What did you need to write, you need to put that, we need to know what that will be.
We'll do that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
because you,
But it would match the one that we have submitted previously for the front.
right.
Yeah.
And the 2 windows that are at the top, which remain, will those look like, will those be replaced as well? Because one is 1/1, and one, it looks like a 4-pane window, the smaller one. Are those remaining? They're the
All the-
old windows.
all the windows are gonna be replaced.
Okay, so they should all be consistent then?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions in terms of?
I have one more question. The doors of the storefront, do they open in or do they open out?
Good question.
In,
Okay. One more question. I'm looking at this elevation, and I'm looking at the storefront, and where the storefront either hits the block or the pier, it looks like the aluminum anodized system is very thick there. It looks like it's drawn as like 1 foot wide, and then it's
Yeah.
glass, and on the other side it's 1 foot. Is that what the intent is?
yeah, because for us to achieve the uniformity across, after 3-foot modules, we're left with like wider ends. So we would like to use the same material, some kind of anodized, dark anodized brick metals to wrap the, the remaining parts. So in each bay, that's why you see that consistent, same thickness, sort of.
Except for the last
bookending.
bay. It's consistent until it gets to the
Until-
very left.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, is there a way to make them consistent with the thicker frames on where they meet the bays? Or with that?
Are
'cause
you stuck with the 3-foot module, or can you make them just equal
We sort of just go by
The
the
whole-
width of the door.
between pilasters, basically? Can you make them
Yeah.
equal, even if it's unequal from one bay to the next? So that each area
It's sort
doesn't
of-
have the leftover
And
piece?
sort of find like a common denominator for each bay, is that what?
No, just
I
have,
understand that, but it seems like it's an odd detail, and I don't even know what you're proposing. Is it just a flat piece of metal that's 1 foot thick, then the storefront starts, or what? It's an odd condition as opposed to just letting the storefront die into the block on either side. would seem to me to be cleaner,
Yeah.
but we're getting into comments, not questions at the moment.
Well, the question was whether or not you're.
Oh, yeah,
you're-
what it is.
Yeah, and whether or not you're married to the 3-foot modules. But that's something we can discuss when we do the comments. What was my question?
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Where is the light fixture, this Pavo LED architectural 2-direction wall mount 6-inch light, the one on the left-hand side of A0? Where does that, I don't see that on the elevation anymore.
Sorry, it might be a little bit dark, but it's basically on the brick
On
facade.
the red brick.
On the west.
Oh, I got it.
Also on the east here. Right?
How did you pick that elevation for that lighting?
Based on the light intensity of the light. We spoke with the manufacturer.
John, are you suggesting it's too high or too low?
It doesn't line up with anything else, so I'm just wondering
Oh.
where it got grabbed out of the air in terms of height. So I usually want to try to see something and line up with something else, but certainly it's not a matter of lighting up, it's a matter of then providing some lighting around the building, is that it?
They're downlights, and visually, they're more or less lining up with the, there are these lines that are existing on the facade. So on both elevations, they're visually sort of lining up with that horizontal element. I don't know if they're clear on the printouts.
So the height is the same for those on both?
Yeah, if you look at, you see how like above the storefront, there are these existing horizontal lines on the facade, and these like sort of, they line up with them on centers. Same for the other facade.
This light throws light up and down, right?
We have the option of doing
Oh, yeah,
both.
the option.
Yeah.
Because the one light to the left on the bottom elevation is going to be, it's just throwing, if it's throwing light up, it's throwing light right into the window there, right?
So we can just only
Just down.
down, yeah.
So you're going to throw light up and down or just down?
We were just thinking about doing downlights.
Just down,
Yeah.
all the way around?
Yes, all of them.
I think, yeah.
I have one last question.
Me too.
The brick pilasters that are on the, taller building where the work is, do you know if that brick that's there is the same as the original theater brick?
It's all painted over, so, yeah.
Was there any thought to just having those pieces remain as brick, like have the paint removed and have them cleaned, and then just do the mural on the concrete block portions?
Yeah, we have to really study and look into it so that it doesn't divide up. Depends on the mural design.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. That was my only question, just if it was considered and what brick type it is, but the rest we can get into in comments. Thanks.
One more question. I see existing painted white leaders at either end, and it looks like you're going to turn them into bronze. Am I reading a third one that doesn't exist right now?
Yeah, there are existing ring leaders from the roof.
Well, there's only two now in the existing photograph, right? One on either end of the facade, and then it looks like you're adding one.
There are like couple, on the east
Oh.
facade, there are a couple ones in the middle also,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, the ones on the east.
oh, can you see it? Oh, they're painted out? Okay,
But there is one on the
Got
theater
it.
facade as well.
got it. And you would propose, okay, and you would propose, even though it's a mural, you would propose it to be a dark bronze against the mural, whatever the mural is?
And honestly, with the mural, once that design is finalized, that might get adjusted just to work with the design.
Okay.
I have another question about on A5, the bulkhead. Oh, no, I'm looking at the old pictures that you gave us, sorry. Is it the same? Yeah, is the bulkhead the same type of glass? Is it glass or is it an aluminum finish?
The storefront?
Yes, for the storefront.
Yeah,
The bottom, yeah.
Yeah, is aluminum. The frame is aluminum.
But what is the panel?
Is it glass?
Oh, in the middle, that's clear glass, yes.
Oh, so you're going clear glass all the
Clear
way
glass,
down
yeah.
to the,
Yeah.
okay. So on 5, what you have here is the part of the system, the quinier,
Yeah.
dark bronze. That's just to show us what the finish will be for the framing, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Any other questions?
Sorry, just what's the material for the garbage enclosure?
So it's
Metal, oh, is
brick
that metal?
masonry and, yeah.
And metal post, okay, thank you.
Okay, so you received our consultant's report, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask Stephen now to give us his opinion on what he's written. Sorry, I just had to find it here.
You have a copy?
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening. So I'm going to summarize my report from April 16th, and I'm going to do my best as we go here to kind of maybe update it, since there are a couple differences between the April 15th and April 25th drawing set that we're looking at tonight. So, big picture, 260 Bellevue Ave is getting much of its character-defining historical features from the north volume, the Tudor-style building fronting Bellevue Ave there. This volume on the south end of the property that we're discussing tonight, very utilitarian, not much in the way of any notable architectural features, really not any anything that anyone would say is contributing to the historic significance of the overall property. So much of the changes are located on the east side of the property, which is that set of 4 storefronts that we've been talking about. We have more clarity tonight on the mural, which I'll talk about later. Something that we lost between the April 15th and April 25th drawing set that people have kind of touched on is more of a traditional arrangement in the storefront with a clear glazed transom above. That's no longer present. Still a sign band higher, which is good. And we have, I guess, illustrative detail on how the lettering may look there. You still have the clear glass display window, which is good. That's reminiscent of a historic storefront. And I think, to the chair's point, potentially exploring like an opaque sill may assist in making this kind of blend into the upper Montclair commuter district a little bit better. The rhythm of the storefronts, I think, is appropriate for that district. You're not proposing anything with glass that's obscenely wide or anything like that. There's a good cadence between the doors, pedestrian experience, sidewalk. That's all good. In reviewing the accent lighting, something that doesn't seem like it was corrected between the April 15th and the set we're looking at tonight are a bunch of conflicting light fixture types. In most cases, it seems like the type B fixture called out on the drawings are actually type A. Type A called out on the elevations is actually type B in terms of its depiction. So I think if we could maybe just clarify that you mean the types of fixtures that you've shown on A03, like as they're graphically depicted and not necessarily the types called out, because that's a little bit confusing.
Yes.
Helpful to know that the light type A is only throwing light down. I think that'll result in a more kind of appropriate facade. I think that given that you're proposing some infill of a fairly unique appearance of brick at that one door, it would be helpful to see some type of mock-up just to convince the commission that we are going to have a relatively seamless appearance between the new and the old brick, because that's not necessarily easy to achieve. In reviewing the mural, which we have more detail on tonight on both the west and the east side, understand that's illustrative. I think once maybe a more developed design is available, it'll be helpful for the commission to understand how that's being adhered to the building. Is it a sticker? Are you priming it? What are you doing to the substrate? Is it reversible? And I don't think necessarily the commission will be reviewing the content of that mural, provided it's not a sign, which I think the west elevation is certainly a sign more than it's a mural. And you have to be careful not to disrupt or belittle the historic building, and then also spanning between different surfaces and the pilasters between with the gutters and leaders running down. It could get a little awkward and may not have kind of the legible effect that the elevation has, which may be problematic. Just to conclude, the two kind of relevant Secretary of the Interior standards I used in reviewing this were Standard 1, properties used as it has been historically or given a new use that requires minimal change to distinctive materials, finishes, features, spaces. The storefronts definitely qualify and are appropriate, I think, under Standard Number 1. And Standard Number 9, to a lesser extent, is also applicable here, which says that there is not going to be a destruction of historic materials, features, et cetera, that characterize the property, which I don't believe is happening here with these storefronts. Did you have any questions on the report or anything I can maybe clarify?
Well, it was clear.
Okay, thank you. Did
Thank
the
you.
commission have any questions or?
Do we have anybody on this panel? Okay. So we'll open this up for discussion now between the commissioners. Who would like to begin? Would Nick like to begin or do you?
Overall, I mean, I think it's very sensitive to what's already there, given that it is such a utilitarian building to begin with. I think the infill work that you're doing is pretty complementary, to the original Tudor building in as much of a way as it could be, on infill work on a building like this made to be consistent with such a historic building at the street. To John's question and point earlier, I do think the storefront would be improved if we can get maximum glass between the pilasters, even if it results in, maybe one section between, the second and the fourth pilaster. They don't all have to be the same one. I think it's just important that from pilaster to pilaster, it's the same equal spacing. But once it gets past the brick pilaster and there's a break between them, it could go to another spacing, even if it's an inch or two different. But I think maximum glass in the width would be definitely better than just infilling with the metal paneling where that is. And then to my question earlier, I know it's pending further investigation once the paint is removed, and it's probably graphically highly dependent on what the actual mural ends up being. It might be something completely different than what we're seeing. If it's more of a darker color, maybe this is more appropriate, but I think it would be a worthwhile question to see what the brick looks like underneath the paint on the pilasters and the back of the building, and just see if it's worth, repointing it or repairing it, getting it washed and just brought up so that maybe it ties in with the front building a little bit better. And if it works with the mural design. So those are my comments.
I agree with Nick about the how these storefronts abut the pilasters, and that extra material be removed. I think all the lights should be at the same height running across the facade. I realize that the down lights maybe operate a little bit different. Well, they both are sort of down lights, but I would run everything at the same height all the way across. I had a question, this is a big improvement, okay, and you're doing a great job. The front of the building looks fabulous. Is the spire going to appear someday on the gable?
You're talking about the...
In the front?
Finial?
The finial.
The finial's there.
Is the finial, it's been installed?
Yeah.
Okay, last I was there, it wasn't installed, okay, great. Um,
I should have a picture if you want to see it. If you want to.
That's all I have. I mean, it's going to clean things up, and it looks nice.
Thank you. Mike.
Yeah, I agree. It's a vast improvement. I think I would be supportive of John and Nick's suggestions for some adjustments, but overall, I think it actually resolved a real dead space between the theater and that shopping center back there. I think this is a tremendous improvement. I think the facade looks, on the Bellevue Avenue side, looks great. So I think you all are doing a terrific job, and I'm very supportive of this change. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
And I was concerned about the destruction of the historic material, which it's not brick, it's the cement block. So to Nick's point, I don't know how conducive that is to stripping. I don't know, because it's not brick. So I think you might have to explore that, although the color underneath that of cement block, it's not, I don't think it will match the brick that's the fancy facade. It's,
The CMU, I think we would just mural over them and like pile of themselves.
oh, okay, so,
Yeah, just the pilasters, any of
Okay.
the original
All right, I
brick
didn't-
on the warehouse building or whatever it's purposed as right now.
okay.
But
let's-
CMU would definitely, maintain mural over it just because
Okay.
once it's stripped, it's just going to be gray block, so.
So I would support that idea because you do have some brick, the staircase in the front going up, which you've stripped the paint as much as you could, and we suggested that you leave it as rough as possible just to show the original, rather than paint the entire thing. And the building behind it, they had actually painted their brick, and which was in violation. When they came before us, we asked them to strip it, which they did, and I think that building looks great now. But again, that probably just had one coat of paint on it, so I don't, you'd have to investigate what's going on there.
And to John's point, even if the light fixtures ended up all being at the same height and the brick ended up being a matching brick with the front building, maybe all the light fixtures that are on the brick then are the same fixture all the way down. And you could imagine, when you're on Bellevue looking down that alleyway,
Yeah.
you see all nice original brick illuminated at the same level with the same quality light. It'd tie these two things together a little bit better.
I agree, I thought the same
Then it
thing.
becomes a pathway.
Right.
that holds together.
Yeah, no, I think that's something that you should consider. I do have a question, though, about the roof. Has that been addressed, the slate roof? Have you addressed there were some things on that front slate roof that had to be addressed, repaired? Has that been done?
I mean, all the repairs to the slate roof were completed. They redid the valleys, they removed the chimneys, they replaced any missing slate. They
Okay,
did the rear valley too. So they did anything that had to do with the slate roof.
okay, I just wanted to double check that. So I agree with my colleagues that it is an vast improvement, and I think it really does open up the space. I am concerned about the mural and the type of mural, what's going to be there. So to Mr. Smollen's point, what you've shown here for Bellevue Theater Montclair, that is a sign, considered a sign. So that would be something that if you wanted, if you're dead set on that, you'd have to come before us to get approved. Are we going to approve that now, or is this something you're still investigating, the murals, the type of mural?
Yeah, correct. We're still investigating, and as I was.
They'd have to come back.
Okay, so when
To us
when
and
you decide on what you're doing for these murals, if you would, you don't even have to come back to the full commission. We can meet you in the field as well, which we've done. But I think that's really important, because, as Mr. Smolene said, you don't want to overwhelm the historic, what were your words? You don't want to overwhelm or?
I said belittle, but
Belittle.
overwhelm is a better word.
So I would appreciate that. And I think at that point, you will know what you're actually, what the pilasters will reveal, what the work is on that, okay? So this is these are recommendations to the planning board. It's not a C of A. So our recommendations will be, right, sent to the plan. And when does this go before the planning board?
June 7th? Yeah.
Oh, June 7th, okay. So if you want it more complete, if you have an idea of what you're doing with the mural, you can contact FAWA in the office, and we can, if you want to go with that, to the planning board. Okay?
Okay, noted.
But I think it's very important to realize that the difference between a decorative mural, which you've shown with the little flowers over here, and the idea of a sign. Okay?
Can I?
I mean, I think on the west side, it's gonna be, I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be exactly that, but I think it's definitely gonna be a sign, because we just look at it that the train comes by and it'd be a nice view when they're coming in, so.
Have you investigated any of these ghost signs, which look very, I don't know, is that not appropriate for historic district?
Like an illuminated projection?
No, a ghost sign, to make it look like it's been there for a while.
Oh, like old signage you'd see on old brick buildings, and worn down, you see evidence of, Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Can I just, there was something in this handout here that says,
Which-
the application has been referred to the HPC to advise on the east facade improvements, additions that include the following: the wall-mounted lights, which we talked about. We talked about the art installation or the mural. And then the next item is proposed storefront signage for 3 retail stores, which are 3 feet in height. I don't see.
We adjusted them so that
You
now-
adjusted them.
So on your the handouts here, they're all 2 feet now.
Okay, so what's the sign band? How big is the sign band?
They're 2 foot in height.
2 foot?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's consistent with our ordinance,
Okay.
correct?
Okay, I just didn't understand that.
The sign ban on top of the storefronts that are on the east facade. And they can't tell us what that is until you have tenants, which you would also have to come back for us. Okay. Well,
If there's a new sign, of course, you will come back for this.
well, the tenant sign
Well,
has to,
the tenant would come back.
Yeah.
right,
The tenant
right.
would
They
come
have to come back. Right. Okay. Well, thank you very much. All right, and we
Thank you
look
very
forward
much
to
for your
seeing
time.
what you, decide on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you want to repeat the conditions?
The recommendations.
Well, is it just recommendations, or also, we did want to have some conditions, like reviewing the brick to make sure that it matches?
Okay. Oh, okay. Um, So, so, were you writing, you were writing?
Oh, I mean, I can write it down, no worries. I'll write it down and I'll send it to you.
Okay, but because we talked about that the light fixtures be uniform and be at the same height, that the glass expanse between the pilasters be
Optimized.
optimized, but made large, right, optimized. The pilasters on the east side that are brick, to explore that surface being stripped and bring it back to the original, as close as original. We approved the idea of them breaking through to create the storefronts, which I think was a big thing. The signage will have to, the murals will have to come back to us. And the windows have to be the same manufacturer, the same type as what's already on the building. I forgot what they were, but, right. And lighting. Oh, and what about the gutters? The gutters, you brought that up, John.
It seemed, well, the gutters are in the same position. They showed on the drawing as anodized, but it really doesn't matter too much until they decide what they want to do with the mural, so.
Right. So that's still open. Oh, and then I called it the bulkhead, but it's the bottom sill on the storefronts should be of the same material as the framing, the anodized metal, correct, in the same color. And those were that was everything I wrote down.
I think that captures it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that captures it, Chair.
Okay, so you'll write it up, and then you'll send it to me. Okay. Okay, and this goes when, June 7th? To the planning board. Okay, so next up is application 2024-05, 20 Church Street. This is an application for certificate of appropriateness. And the property is located on the south side of Park Street between South Park and South Fullerton. It is in a two-story building, and it is in the Central Business Historic District Zone. The building was constructed in 1970, and it is it has a center entryway with shops on either side. It was designed in the 1930 Art Deco commercial building, and it is considered a contributing building to the district. The 2002 nomination report, which sets it in the Town Center Historic Building. The proposal, what we're looking at tonight, and this is a certificate of appropriateness, is the demolition of an existing glazed storefront system, including the entry door, bulkhead sill, awnings, and exterior floor surfacing. The applicant wants to construct a new glazed storefront system with an ADA accessible entry door within the existing opening. And then there are two signs that are also proposed. One is a wall sign, which we'll see in the exhibit, in the pictures, and one is a blade sign. So, would you please identify yourself, and Ms. Bauer will swear you in?
Yes, Zachary Gibbich, architect. Grdich. It's open.
David Guzmano, Cusumano.
Mr. Guzman, architect, we swear or affirm that the testimony provided in the application.
So I'm just going to repeat a little bit of what, it's okay to go ahead?
Yes.
Yes, please.
I was going to repeat a little bit about what you said, read a little bit, and then we'll talk about some of the drawings. We're here tonight to discuss the replacement of the existing storefront at 20 Church Street, lot 2206, lot 6. The property is located on the south side of Church Street between South Park Street and South Fullerton Street. The changes proposed are to the north exterior elevation facing Church Street, which include two bays, an eastern bay with an entrance and an adjacent western bay without an entrance. We are proposing to remove the existing storefront glazing and metal support system, including the entry door, a small portion of the bulkhead sill, fabric awnings, and a small portion of the exterior pavers. We are seeking your approval to install a new black aluminum tempered and insulated glazed storefront system. We are replicating the existing window pattern with the new system. We will be providing a new accessible barrier-free entrance near the area where the existing entrance is located. The new entrance door will be a black aluminum and glass door, which is similar to what is installed on the building's main entrance doors. We are also proposing to clad over the existing marble bulkhead with black aluminum panels anchored to the base and to the top of the bulkhead with metal brackets. Finally, we are proposing to install two new signs at the exterior. A pin-mounted 1/4 inch thick metal wall sign projecting 1 inch off the facade. The outer overall dimensions of the sign will be 2 feet tall by 3 feet long. And a blade sign with a painted black metal background and white painted letters. The blade sign will be mounted 10 feet above the sidewalk and will measure 2 feet by 1 foot 10 inches. The area of the exterior pavers that will now become interior will take on the same flooring as the main entrance space, which is wood, main restaurant space, which is wood flooring. And I provided two main drawings, HP 002, which depicts the general construction drawings, and product specifications for the project, and sheet HP 003, which contains the existing photos of the facade and the renderings of the new storefront system and signs. So so from here, we can reference some of these drawings, which so you can see on sheet 1, drawing number 1 of HP 002, where I dashed in where the existing door is, and we're repositioning the door a little bit, and where the new door will be located. And I'm also showing you where the new, on the right-hand side of the bay, where the new storefront will be installed, which is going to mimic what was there previously. And then down below are a bunch of the details for the signs, which I just sort of spoke about. The following sheet, HP 003, So this sheet shows photos of the existing facade in their current state, in recent current states, and our renderings of what the new facade would look like. Those are on drawings number 2 and number 5. From these renderings, you can see that we're bringing the storefront forward. We're bringing the door forward, and we're allowing for a proper ADA entrance to this space without the need of power assist.
Okay, thank you. Does that conclude your?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Kusakam? No?
We're just trying, obviously, this is a big project for me, bordering in town. We're moving our current location to this location. So we're trying to bring what we can, with keeping, mimicking original looks, but also making it functional and looking good as well.
What is your current location?
We're on Glenridge Avenue, 39 Glenridge
Oh,
Avenue.
oh.
So, this is our 8th year, and then we're moving up here, so.
Okay.
Big move for us.
Okay, all right, great. I was down there today and I took more photographs, detailed photographs, so, or more photographs of the building, the facades that are within the larger building. So I'll give one to, do you want to look at these? So we
That'd be
have,
great.
Should we mark them?
yes, I think we have to mark this as an
We'll mark
addition.
that as HPC 1.
Okay.
HPC 1, for the record, consists of 5 photographs, color photographs.
6.
Is this 2 photographs?
No, it's 1.
1,
That's
2, 3, 4, 5.
6. 2 on the bottom.
That's
a
what I
de-
said, is, okay. So even though they don't have any space between
No,
them?
there's no space in between.
Got it,
All
okay.
right. Would you like one?
No, I can share it.
Okay. Would you like another one?
I would like one.
Oh, here.
I have some additional photographs too.
Oh, good.
That we could share. Some of them are repeating of some of the spaces, but just maybe different angles. So let me just bring this. It should be about
Are there,
5 there.
okay.
So
Are
this
they
is-
all the same?
This one's the main.
Yeah,
building
the main
Yeah,
door.
they're all the same, so you can.
Do you have extra copies?
Yeah, we have, there's about 5. And then I have a larger printout if anybody would
Okay.
like to share.
could
You
share.
have this one too.
No, this is
I think
this
there's
is
2.
good.
Yeah, we're okay.
Okay, now.
That's good?
Yeah.
I have an extra.
Okay, this one will be marked Exhibit A1.
They're still a little, I guess, old school too. We didn't have time to digitally experience it.
That's what you just handed us, correct?
Yeah, same
It's
thing,
just a
just a larger
larger version.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's helpful, thank you. Do you have one?
Yeah.
Okay. So we will proceed with any questions from the commissioners? John, do you want to start?
Yeah, how wide is the existing door?
The door is 36 inches wide.
The existing door is 36 inches wide?
Yeah, the existing door is.
And why is that not accessible?
The door is in swinging right now,
Yeah?
and the width to get in is only 36 inches. There's no clearances to the right and to the left, and there's about 30-inch recess in.
But okay. So you're saying the approach to that door is not wide enough to qualify?
Yes.
Okay. Even if that door was not latched when it's in operation?
If it's not latched, but it does have a self-closer on it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which I believe is required by.
What's that?
I think it would be required by code to have a self-closing latch on it. Like, I don't think we'd be able to just leave it open.
No, but it goes to someone being able to push their way through as opposed to operating a lever handle or some other way to get in. Okay. The existing framing for the windows is a steel frame, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Could-
Painted steel.
Painted steel frame.
Can I just make on my picture, when I was down there today, you see this here? I chipped away some of that. Are you sure that's not bronze under there?
I know it's painted right now, so I don't know what the metal is underneath.
Oh, okay. Because that would be the original. I'm just questioning whether, you know for sure whether it's steel or bronze.
We were looking on the inside, which you can't see from the outside. It's a mix of wood, deteriorated wood, and a form of metal.
Okay.
Couldn't possibly be bronze, but seemed that it was steel for the most part, like, on the inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't see anything in the historical records that explained what type of metal.
Okay, I still have a couple more questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a reason why the door is not centered in that bay and you've moved it to the right?
We did that for clearances on the interior for the restaurant.
For the layout inside?
That's correct.
Okay. And I guess I have a question about these photographs, but we can talk, when we have commentary, we can talk about that.
Can I just ask a question before was there any consideration of keeping the original facade, the original, what is your rationale for wanting to change the original facade, which is consistent with the other, that's why I took pictures of it, consistent with the whole
Neighborhood.
streetscape?
Yeah, whole streetscape.
And you know, what this Art Deco building is all about. So I'm just,
So the two considerations were, one, to create a facade that is a little bit more energy efficient with the insulated glass, solar heat gain, and so that the building on the interior is more energy efficient. And then the second option, or the second consideration that we had to, is we really wanted to create an ADA accessible entrance that didn't require any power assist for the patrons coming in.
and in order to do that, you can't have that recess, you have to bring the door right to the facade? Right to
Yes.
the plane of the
Not for the
glass?
ADA, for the energy efficiency.
For the energy efficiency, we have to replace what's there with, because right now the glass that's there is maybe a quarter of an inch thick. It's plate glass, single plate. It's cracked, so it does need to be repaired. It's not tempered.
What if you replaced the glass and kept the frame, kept the door?
It won't fit in that frame anymore. The
What do you mean?
Insulated glass is 3/4 to an inch thick glass, and it will not fit in the existing historic frame.
Is there any other option? Something that would be more energy efficient, but not necessarily optimal to kind of balance out these interests?
Replacing it with a new system is the way to go in order to keep the efficiency.
Right, but we're talking about two separate interests here, right? One, we understand the desire for energy efficiency, and we understand the desire for ADA compliance, but also, I mean, these doors get dating back to 1930, and this streetscape, you know, being what it, you know, for the last almost 100 years, looking this way. I mean, we're being asked to really disrupt that. So I would like to know if there's some other way to balance those two interests other than completely doing away with
I mean,
this
I think it's also,
historic element.
I understand I understand what this commission's goal is here, is to keep and preserve things the way they are.
Well, also things that are virtually irreplaceable.
Would you be opposed to us possibly creating the door to mimic the same style? Because there's also not uniformity throughout the building. in the storefronts.
That's the other part that I was going to mention, is that if you look down that, the row of storefronts,
Yeah.
there's doors that are replaced, there's doors that are painted over, there's facades that have been replaced with what seems to be wood.
100%, and this commission was not in operation until but a few years ago, right? So
Sure.
this particular door, are we going to be losing another original piece of history on this streetscape?
Well, one of the things that we were interested in doing, and I know that commissions are often, they're also interested in this, is that we are willing to give our door to one of those storefronts that has an old door, but is not willing to spend the investment in creating a new facade, which is, you have to understand, my client is making an investment in this.
I understand that, and I respect
And they're walking
that this is a
away
big
from it after
business.
this is done, so.
Totally respect that, and I respect that, you know, this is a significant business investment. And again, we have to figure out how to balance these interests.
So that was something that I thought would be maybe interesting to the commission here, is that if we gave our door to one of the places that currently had a door removed, maybe illegally at some point or whatever, and this way we're keeping the same amount of original doors operable.
So if we were to do something like that, could we then have something, though, that more resembles the current facade? You know, the current
Shape of the door.
the shape of the door. I mean,
And the rhythm of the building? I
Yeah.
mean,
The
I
location.
don't think we'd be opposed to putting the door back centered where it currently was, and maybe keeping that coffin-style
Yes.
opening
Yeah.
that's there. But we do want to bring that door to be flush so that there isn't this recess anymore. So if there's a give and take that we can work on together, I think that might be reasonable.
okay. Nick, do you have a question?
What would the power assist look like if you did put it on there with a flush door? Where would you mount it?
So the power assist would need to be mounted per code, where on the outside and on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I have with power assist is I tend to use those in my architecture where it's either two doors and that are both leading to the same space. So one door could be the power assist and the other one could be the manually operated one. Because over time, the power assist is going to give out before the manually operated door is. So there's a life cycle on those doors. And they also tend to hold themselves open a little bit longer. And because we're under the square foot required to have a vestibule in the space, during the winter times, that door is going to be held
Yeah,
open.
I understand.
And closed, and then it's not an optimal choice to be had for this. If there was if there were two entrances, then I think that would be reasonable ask to be had. The other thing is that these doors, if you guys have ever used them before, they do take there's always a little bit of you feel like you're pushing a motor a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not the easiest swing when you're not using the button.
They break them up.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of wear and tear in and
Yeah,
out.
we did consider it, and if I had two entrances, two doors, I would consider having one of them be a power assist. This slope of the sidewalk lends itself the only entrance to be where it is, because it rises when you work yourself to the west.
West,
I believe,
yeah.
So, we're really stuck with that being the entrance.
Okay. Yeah, that was my only question for now.
Any other questions?
I guess just one other question. Could you gain that accessibility without coming completely flush to the front? Could you maintain some
Yeah, we
type
could
of?
go 8 inches, have an 8-inch recess.
Yeah.
And that would still be compliant.
Okay.
So that would still work.
And it would still maintain some sense of?
Yeah.
My question is that the bulkhead, that the cladding, that marble cladding that's there now?
Yes.
I mean, I saw there was one crack on one side and looked like somebody had kicked the other side in. But that's replaceable. You could fix that. That's fixable.
I don't believe, I think you would have to, if you wanted to replace it, I think you'd have to replace it. The cracks, there's multiple cracks along that.
There's holes.
And pieces missing. I think if you were if you were to replace it, the crack itself will still be prominent in that.
You mean
marble.
to restore it, or,
I'm sorry, yes, if you were to repair it.
right, repair it?
It would still be a very strong visible crack in that design, in that wall.
And I have a question, the existing door, the recessed door, that coffin shape at the top,
Yes.
there's a box up there. What is that box, for? A little hanging box? What is that?
Not 100% sure, it's like old, maybe
I
like,
think it may have been an alarm.
yeah, like,
Oh.
it seemed to be like an old alarm system or like a.
There's some wires going.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's not a light?
No, it's not like a fixture of the door.
Okay. So, so I think Mike summed it up that, very well, that, yes, this facade does have, problems, but we have to grapple with the fact
Yeah.
that the changes that were done to the other, we weren't here for that. And in reality, the newer things, like the barber shop, we approved that, but that was with the idea of bringing it back more to what originally it was. I know, I'm commenting now, but I just want you to understand, when we go into discussion, and when our consultant speaks, that's what we're grappling with.
Yeah, there's a few things going on here. There's a certain investment that's being willing to be made to upgrade, to ensure energy efficiency to this building. And we're trying to respect the facade and the nature of this building as best as we can,
Mhm.
dealing with that. But there's going to be a limit that we are going to hit where it's no longer feasible to address the facade any further. And that's something that my client has been grappling with and trying to figure out how far he can push that limit. And currently, this is where we decided. We looked into it during our planning process. We're sort of stuck at these crossroads, and this is what we're presenting to you. Being something that's achievable.
So I understand your professional view about the window glass. Have you spoken to the other tenants and the other people in the storefronts? And have any of them, because they look like the majority of them are the original storefronts, but
Yeah.
I don't know whether or not they're the original glass. So have you spoken to anybody there?
No, but where the variable, I think, comes in is because of all the kitchen equipment and the hood and the way that we have to balance air with the new HVAC system. And there's a lot of input sucking out, so with that, the new system.
Which all goes out the back.
Yes, that all goes out the back.
Right.
I'm just saying, in terms of the air that's being put into this space now, it's very temperature, it's easily disrupted, right? So the glass becomes a major factor with wintertime, summertime, heating, cooling, and things like that. So that's why it kind of all plays into like the whole scope of, this is more inside, I know it has nothing to do with you guys. But just more so why the energy efficiency is so important to us, because putting in all that money into an HVAC system in the hood and all that to make sure that it's all working properly for the customers and us, it can kind of like get disrupted pretty bad.
Well, that was my question. If you've spoken to anybody that's replaced their glass, and,
I can add, to answer that short question, sorry.
Okay.
But I can.
Yeah, I think one other point, because you just mentioned it, is that the customers, we are planning to have people seated at the glass. So that is, it's not as though the patrons are just going to be on the interior only. We're going to be doing an area where people can see at the storefront, the side that does not have the door.
Like there'll be a counter on the interior in the window, like sitting, looking out of the window.
right, okay.
Yes.
Well, that's good, because we don't
Yeah, so
allow
that's-
anything to cover it.
Yeah, so that's-
Right.
Not pleasant if it's freezing outside and you're sitting on that
Yeah.
current system.
All right, well, that was my question. And then, and the other thing was, if you had done any investigation to see whether this in fact was bronze underneath, which, okay.
I didn't get past it.
Okay, all right. Any other questions, Ed?
Just the window design, I mean, is it possible to match existing?
That's what we.
Is that, oh, this side too?
Correct, yeah.
This side too also does, okay. What's
Well,
that?
not-
This side?
Sorry.
I'm sorry, yeah, what,
Right here, this part. Is that,
Correct.
that matches
Yeah,
existing?
that's exactly how it looks now.
Oh,
we're intending to match the rhythm of the glass that's there now.
okay. But if you move the door, you're changing,
We're
Right.
changing a bay if we move the door.
but if you keep it in the
We're
same
willing-
place, you can match it?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
willing to concede putting the door back to its original position,
Okay.
bringing it forward, so that there's an 8-inch reveal, whatever's allowed.
Any other questions? No? Stephen, may we hear what
Sure.
you have to say?
So I sit on an HPC back in my town in Hoboken, and it's become nearly monthly. Ms. Bauer may remember Art Deco storefronts in Hoboken have recesses 10, 15 feet. And it's a balance between making that functional for a modern business, especially food services, somewhat problematic, versus keeping the historic integrity. I'm struggling to find reasons, balancing everything to justify demolishing the existing steel storefront here at 20 Church Street. I'll just summarize a couple things from my March 18th, 2024 report. The storefronts are most definitely original to the subject property. Most of the adjacent bays, if they don't retain the entirety of the existing storefront, are all, I think, certainly referencing the existing storefront. So there's a syncopation and pattern across the entirety of the 20 Church Street facade that I think is important. Couple mistakes have certainly been made on other storefronts at 20 Church Street, but two wrongs don't make a right at all. The storefronts, I believe, are painted steel. It looks like potentially primed metal that's showing through the chip of paint there. It would be somewhat difficult for paint like that to adhere to bronze for so long, and unlikely. There's symmetry in all the existing storefront bays, which I think is important, and a character-defining feature. The green marble bulkhead sill, coffin-shaped door, recessed entry, all certainly character-defining important features. The horizontal paving at the entrance, awnings, both of those not historic, not particularly important. So I did look at this existing storefront in person, and it's not in great condition, but it's displaying some wear completely consistent with its age. I would say it's in minor to moderate deterioration is what you're seeing across it. I don't think anything is severe. A couple pieces of maybe cracked glass, cracked buttons, mullions, nothing that can't be repaired. Poor repairs done over time with like wood, as you mentioned, as opposed to proper metal, like steel, being used, so that would need to be rectified. The two Secretary of the Interior standards I applied to this application were standards 2 and 6. Standard 2, historic character of the property retained and preserved, removal of historic materials or alteration of features should be avoided. That's really important in justifying why the existing storefront can and should be preserved. Then getting into my comments here, the storefront should be preserved. We've discussed that ad nauseum. There are deterioration throughout the storefront. I attached some pretty detailed guidance on how steel storefronts can using readily available materials and craftspeople be restored, and I would encourage the applicant to do that. If there are going to be any replacements of materials, they should match in design, color, texture, profile. I did touch on comment 6 of mine, relates to accessibility. Understand the concern, and it rightfully should be a priority of the owner. However, you're dealing with an existing building here, and you have you're lucky, I think, you have a 36-inch wide doorway. Typical wheelchair is 26 inches. While the existing storefront may not strictly comply with the ADA standards for a new construction project, I think there are certainly alternative means of compliance you can use, not necessarily as severe as implementing an auto operator or power assist door, but simple things like training your staff if they see someone coming up in a wheelchair or with a mobility issue to assist that person into the business. Those types of fairly simple, just operational things would allow the storefront to remain as it is while also providing accessibility to people that need that as they're approaching. I would encourage the applicant to look at our rehabilitation subcode, leave it no less safe, also leave it really no less accessible, which I think by making these minor repairs to the storefront you would be consistent with. And I would also, just lastly on the accessibility thing, look to how the federal government would apply accessibility standards if they own this, and no one applies accessibility more strict than the federal government. And there's specific provisions in ADA that say that it is not, if it's not feasible to provide physical access to a historic property in a manner that will not threaten or destroy the historic significance of the building or facility, alternative methods of access should be provided. So I think if you apply an approach like that and really let that drive the project, this storefront can and should be preserved.
Thank you. So, do you have any remark?
He didn't really speak about the energy efficiency of the storefront and how that could be achieved, and it's another one of our important deciding factors about what we chose.
So you have the existing storefront is on a north elevation. It's going to receive a little less sunlight. So it's not, I don't think, a major concern during the summer that you have a not thermally broken storefront presently. And I think you have to look at maybe more holistically things like embodied carbon and energy that went into the existing storefront, how intensive that was in considering whether to rip the whole thing out to put in IGUs and hollow aluminum framing that the next tenant may be in front of this commission to also rip out.
So, just like, I guess like the alternative to the summer season is the winter season, right? So there's like the play of that. And secondly, with the ADA stuff, I mean, it's very tough on me, and I'm not trying to like play the small business role here, but like at the end of the day, like I'm gonna be the one that gets the bad look for someone who struggled or something like that, you know?
Not necessarily, because people understand the balance, that this is a building that wasn't necessarily designed originally for this type of use. I don't think anybody would hold it against you if you maintained the historical integrity of this site.
Yeah, I think the flip side is more true. Mm-hmm. If you destroy this storefront, I think you'll get more grief than that. Are we into the commentary?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Well, I don't know if, would you
have
like
any
to have
more
anything else
to-
you wanted to add, gentlemen? Or?
The Montclair, I forget what the official title is of the historical paperwork that you guys have to follow, but there's a section in there for accessibility as well.
Oh, our design guidelines?
Yes, your design guidelines. Thank you. I just didn't have it.
No, that's okay.
And I believe that in there, one of the reasons for modifying storefronts and entrances is to create accessibility. as one of the guidelines.
I think it's probably one of the interests to balance. I wouldn't,
Right.
I wouldn't disagree, but it's not determinative.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
just one of the things that are in the.
But,
guidelines.
right, but not at the expense of destroying a historic facade. So anything else? Because we'll start with our
Sure.
comments.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Nick?
I'm sorry, before we get into that, can I just ask Stephen a question?
Sure.
I just wanted to ask you a question about bringing the recess, the 8-inch recess, what your opinion was of that modification.
I completely get the origin of that dimension from ADA and that being a threshold issue for whether you comply with this or that. Big picture, I don't think it's going to make the entry any more or less accessible. If it's 18 inches or 8 inches recessed, it's recessed. It's still 36 inches wide. I still think a wheelchair can fit in there. And with things like an intercom, I think it'll be as is with that, more accessible than if the whole thing was ripped out and someone's left with a manual door.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the energy efficiency, I mean, I don't know if you've had anything modeled by an HVAC subcontractor or anything. I'm not convinced on it, and I suggest you talk to maybe like Raymond's 2 doors down. They have an original, probably 1930s storefront. I've eaten there many times in the winter and in the summer, right up to, and they have tables right up to the glass. I'm sure you could find a way in the HVAC system to achieve what you need to. It's not prolonged use for anybody. Nobody's sitting there and working for 8 hours a day. It's a meal. It's a short-term occupancy. I think there's plenty of storefronts that are working with it on the same block.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean that we couldn't achieve conditioning the space. Achieving conditioning the space is not an energy efficient way of you can have your AC running full blast the whole time, keep it consistent. We're trying to do it more of an efficient way.
You will have the
or vice
AC.
versa, the heat system.
The AC will be running all day. It's a restaurant. It's going to be running all day in the summer. The heat's going to be running all day in the winter. I mean, it's a commercial property. I don't think you won't be running your systems at any point.
I'm going to disagree with that statement, and that having a more energy efficient glazing storefront, it will reduce the need for cooling and heating.
Yeah, I'm not sold on it. I've never been in a commercial restaurant space that isn't running some kind of conditioning at all times of the year. You also could get an airlock. It's a temporary structure. I don't know exactly what the ordinance says, but also Raymond's is a building that has it because they have an old facade, and in the winter, there's a little metal and canvas piece that gets put out in front of the door, and that's your airlock. You save a lot of energy efficiency there.
That's in front of the door, but it doesn't cover the whole.
Right, but the
So
door is the
yeah,
primary
I
part
understand.
of where
I
the air
understand.
breakage
I understand
comes.
what
Yeah. So I'm not convinced on the energy efficiency. I don't think you need it. The most sustainable thing to do is to work with the building that's already there. And that speaks to the embodied energy comment that Mr. Smolin had before. I mean, you're saving a big expense by not having to put a new storefront in if you just work with what's there already. And I think your energy problems aren't as serious as it's being made a case for, given that there are other properties on both sides that work with current storefronts that are the same age.
Okay. I would disagree with that.
Okay.
John?
I could imagine you could rebuild this storefront with a steel frame, insulated glass, and marble bulkhead, and make it all brand new, and center the door, and have it recessed and be a little bit wider, and have all the profiles on the metal storefront. I mean, that's what is missing when we go to this Conair system. All of a sudden, it's this flat aluminum. You lose all this texture that's there in the facade. But I could imagine you could do that. And then I might be more open to saying, okay, tear down the existing if you're going to. That's not historically probably the
Yeah.
true thing to do. So,
Yeah,
I
that was something that we did think about, and that
I know, it gets to be very bright. I understand that. And I understand, the, I don't know, the energy thing. I mean, you could lock up the windows, too. They'd be more energy efficient. So I think that's not a real argument I can wrap my head around. So this is one of those buildings and one of those streets in Montclair that I think are very important and add a lot to the streetscape in Montclair. And I would have a hard time approving what you're proposing.
Yeah, I am sympathetic to the business concerns, but ultimately, I do agree with my colleagues. And something that, Stephen had mentioned earlier that stuck with me, and we always have to consider is subsequent tenants. We have to consider the long-term protection of the streetscape. And given some of the solutions that have been discussed tonight, I do not think it would be appropriate to lose this historic asset or to demolish or diminish it. Yeah.
And I have to agree with my colleagues as well. While I am sympathetic to what you're saying, I do think that there are things that, we've discussed it here, and I'm sure that that you could come up with a solution that would, maintain the rhythm and the balance. And as I said before, some of these things that were done to some of the other storefronts on this facade were before our time. But if you look at what, like the barber shop, that was something what they took down the awning, and that was something that came before this commission. And I know their door, I believe, is not the original, but, right, it's not the original, but it wasn't when it came before us, so we couldn't make them replicate your door. And while I appreciate it's very generous to, offer your door to them, I don't think that holds, Mike was talking about balance, I don't think that holds weight, because what you are doing is changing the facade of this building, which works, it's supposed to work as a total building. And again, I have sympathy for your concerns, and thinking that if this was a standoff building, maybe not on Church Street, but still within the historic district, I would feel more inclined to go with what you're proposing. But I think that you're really changing the character of not only of the storefront, but of the entire facade, of the entire building. So I could not support what you're proposing here either.
I think you guys can support a portion of what we're proposing, correct?
What is that?
We have sign application as well.
Oh, the sign. Yes. So what you're proposing for that is to remove the awning, the existing awning, and then do you have measurements as to where these will actually sit on the facade? Is that on, it's on page 2?
Yeah, it should be on 2, yes.
And is the Diesel and Duke, the flat sign that's to the west,
The pin-mounted sign.
the pin-mounted sign, what is the height of that?
2 feet.
The height is 2 feet. So that is that in proportion to what the sign band is on these other storefronts? Or it looks as though in your drawing that it sits above it.
I believe that maybe the other sign bands might be a little bit bigger than 2 feet, but. it
I mean
should
in
be
height.
Proportionate to it, yeah.
In height.
They should be proportionate to 2 feet. Yeah. here. This is the contact remains. Oh, this one. That, that's a rendering.
Well, it looks huge.
Yeah, so it's that zoomed in piece. But there's a detail, H2, HP002. Let's see these up here. So if you look at 2HP002, you can see that we're 2 feet tall by 3 feet wide. No, it's down here,
Okay.
yeah.
And it's a pin-mounted with lighting?
No.
No light, it's just no lighting, no illumination.
No illumination.
So it's pin-mounted, what is the
Metal.
metal on a metal board?
No, pin mounted to the facade.
Oh, so there's no backing?
That's correct.
Oh, I'm sorry. From your, I thought there was a backing. So it's pin-mounted to the facade. Okay.
That's the sign that's on the western side up in the right-hand corner.
Yes.
Yes.
And then you have a blade sign.
Then we have a blade sign that is mounted back to the facade and supported by a metal bracket that sticks out. And that sign is this large one that we're looking at here, which comes off the building 2 feet and is roughly 1'10" high. That's what we're showing.
Right, and those dimensions are within our sign ordinance?
Yes.
Okay. The blade sign is within our stuff. And then the pin-mounted one, I'm just wondering, looking at the height all the way across, if that is higher, 2 feet, then what's this
It's at the same height of where, like, if there was a sign.
band?
Going across, like.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you for describing that. Any questions?
I have comments, I have no questions on the signage.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a question just to follow up on a point from my report. 10 characters on that pin-mounted sign. How many penetrations are you anticipating through the wall to mount that?
Usually there's 2 per.
So 20.
Yeah.
And then there's 4 penetrations for the blade sign to hang the outrigger?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a lot.
And this is a limestone facade?
I think it's some type of concrete. It didn't seem like limestone
Do you know what-
from what I remember.
Oh, actually, the way that the logo is, since it's consistent, it can have less.
Yeah, I was couldn't it
It can
have,
have less pins. in
since
it.
you're all one kind of,
If they're individual letters, they need 2 per, but because the scrolling and the scripted nature of the sign, of the logo itself would require less.
Well,
than 2 per letter.
Okay, so do you have that schematic?
I don't have that specifics to you. No. I just know that it's less than, because they're consistent, they're tied together.
Right, right. Well, can we,
we could put it in the comments of the resolution that,
right, that the signage, but what can we, how many penetrations will be, right, I mean,
I don't know how heavy it is, but it looks like you could do it in 6, I would say, like 3 on diesel and 3 on
To
and
be
Duke.
honest, the sign manufacturer may not even need us to do any
Mhm.
mounting at all. It may be an adhesive that could be done, and I don't know if you guys have objections to adhesives, but it could be done with an adhesive.
oh,
Steve might have something.
well, it depends on what the back,
You know, what happens is, this is a masonry building, and this is gonna pull in whatever adhesives you use. So you're never gonna be able to clean that off if you ever take it down.
So it has to be pin
It's-
mounted?
I think the only way to
Yeah.
deal with it is pin mount it, and then have the condition that they have to I don't know,
Repair it.
repair it, or the, I don't know how you do that
I mean,
when the
maybe
tenant
there's a solution where
disappears
we
and
can
Yeah.
ask
use
them
that
to
board,
do it, yeah.
and that's
I guess you
for-
apply it to the next tenant, you know. that
Right,
this
well,
was
that's
a
what we've done,
condition.
yeah.
I think it's concrete too, the facade, so that's going to be
I
easier
kind of
than
like how
if
you
it were
have
like
it, where it's
limestone.
just the letters
to patch
themselves.
in the future. But you
Limestone
should definitely be
behind it looks
limiting the
kinda
amount
cool.
of penetrations.
Yeah, I wouldn't glue it. That's,
Okay, so no glue, pin-mounted, minimum number of pins. And what about the blade sign?
I have a quick question, sorry. Just kind of thinking through the storefront thing. Is there any situation where seeing the interior condition of the storefront can be affected?
To what we decide?
Correct.
No,
No?
no, because we,
Our purview's not interior, it's only
interior.
exterior. We
No,
don't,
we're
yeah.
talking
I'm talking about like the like the deterioration of like the steel, like,
You've only seen it from the outside. They've removed the walls to expose the interior of the frame.
like you see how it's rusted, like where she chipped it, you can see the deterioration, but if you go on the interior side of it, you know, because this just gets layers of paint over the years, however many times they've just painted it to make it look, you know, fresh. But on the inside, it's a very different story as well. You know, you can kind of see from chipping away, just a slight preview to what it looks like on the inside.
but then you'd have to make a case that it wasn't repairable. Is that what you're saying?
I guess we just have to really explore this a little bit more and see like what you guys are open to, you know, I'm just kind of looking at it from
If the paint's unoriginal, we could strip the paint all the way back, and there are, specialty paints that have a metallic kind of finish to them. I think what's important to us is that the steel frame has the original bevels on it and the molding pattern. It's not this big chunky flat Conair storefront. So I think we'd be open to looking at a color that matches the original.
No, but what he's saying is that, would it change our decision if,
like if I can prove on the inside that it's very.
But it's irreparable, yeah.
That it's really not, like if I had a professional come in that specializes in restoring this stuff, which I can, you know, look into, and he's like, listen, I can't, there's nothing I can do with this. You know, it's kind of like one of those things that when you look at it from the inside, it's like hideous.
You're going to see more damage on the inside of the storefront for sure. I mean, I looked through the glass as much as I could, and around the display window,
And you could barely see.
it seemed
Yeah.
repairable completely. I could not see above the transom.
Mhm.
At the same time, I think this commission's also saying they don't have purview over the inside, so you may not, if you're not using steel to,
I think he's talking
remedy the issue.
from a structural integrity standpoint, I think is what they're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
we're not asking for approval of the interiors, we're just saying, if you look at the structure of the storefront, to see what's happening on the inside part of that you can't see from the outside. It's-
is it all equally bad across the whole storefront on the inside?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
but it's not caving in? I mean, and
Well, there's a big steel lintel above it.
Well,
there's a what?
Like there's support beams above it. That's not load bearing.
Well,
I guess I would comment and just say, yeah, if it's so bad, then if you can replace the steel as it, you know, in the same profile and get your insulated windows, then I would be open to that. You'd be throwing away the original fabric. I'd have to be convinced that
Right.
it can't be repaired,
Or replaced in kind, right? Yeah.
yeah, in places. But
let's,
let's talk about the signage.
Yes.
That's where we were. This building, it looks like, and one of the things we were trying to do was create a sign band across all of this. And now what they're proposing is I don't have a problem with the blade sign. I think blade signs are great in general. I don't know about how, to me, the Diesel and Duke sign has nothing to do with this historic facade. It doesn't take any clues from, you know, the adjoining properties or, so,
But I'm kind of looking at like
Benvenuti sign, it seems,
Yeah,
it's a little
yeah, I get it.
generic, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And I don't necessarily mind a little,
Maybe there's less signage too. It's more
I was about to
facade.
say, maybe it's more facade, so it
Yeah,
kind of brings
yeah,
out the building a little
yeah.
more. I
Okay,
kind of like it,
okay.
kind of like it.
Yeah, and it's all the way on the, it's away
Yeah.
from the rest of it, and if it's within the height, I think,
We can make sure that it would be the same height. as
Right.
the van.
Yeah, and the
right, so that
building-
would be one of the
building department-
It
conditions
needs to
that,
shrink 6 inches. It can shrink.
But the building department would tell you that, I think you, right? Janice would probably have, yeah, I think
But
you
it's-
all would be fine with that. Yeah, I think so.
yeah, with the signage you are. So we could approve the removal of the awning, which would have to, you'd have to repair that, because there's going to be holes in that, right, in that.
Might be into the storefront, to be honest, but if there is, we'll make sure that that's
Yeah.
obviously fixed.
It definitely is into the storefront. They attach the awning to the storefront, the metal of the storefront.
Okay.
Okay,
But if there are penetrations, we'll make sure.
right, that would have to be fixed. Okay. Do you have anything else, Stephen, about the awnings and the signage? What we're discussing, because that's what could be approved.
Yeah, when I was there looking at this, I looked at from the perspective of how you would take this awning off, and it is definitely anchored into the steel mullions, but I don't think it's insurmountable to take it off.
I think the thing with the signage is, again, 20 years from now, there'll be a new tenant, new sign. So you look at signage in terms of what kind of damage you're doing to the historic fabric. So if, there's minimum amount of penetrations and it gets filled down the road, that's all we can ask for, I guess.
Right, so the pin-mounted sign would have the minimum amount of holes, intrusions, and the blade sign is okay as presented.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the awning, the removal of the awning would be approved. It's anchored into the steel frame as you testified.
That's correct.
Okay, but that would be taken off, because they've taken, when I first came here, there were awnings all the way across, and so the Benvenuti and the barber shop took off their awnings, and then somehow there's an historic photograph that probably is from like the 30s or the 40s that has some, but at one point there were awnings all across it. So that was part of our discussion, is that historically there would have been no awning. So that's why when people come and say they want to take the awning off, we say that that's a great idea, and have a sign ban. So, okay, so now we have to make a motion, the sign,
I guess one other point was the marble, if that can be removed or not, because it's damaged and cracked.
right, it's, well, we should talk to the architects here. Have you looked at it? I mean,
I haven't looked at it. I would have to defer to,
I remember maybe one piece had a full crack through it, but everything else seemed like
that was what I thought, but I'm
pretty
not an
straightforward
architect.
patching.
Right.
Definitely wouldn't rise to the occasion of needing to be removed entirely.
What would you patch marble with? What do you know what you patch marble with?
A compatible, some type of consolidant. I don't know if it's epoxy-based or what for that type of stone you should test. And an inconspicuous, like,
any
return
stone
corner.
countertop guy can tell you how to patch a stone top, with compatible materials, so, in the most simplest way.
Yeah, because again, I mean, even the one of the bulkheads, I think the green room, has this kind of faux marble that, on it, which, is faux marble, but it works more with what was there. I would say to keep what's there and repair it. What are
Yeah.
my
But, so
colleagues say?
Our proposal was to keep what's there and cover it. So we weren't planning on removing anything, but we wanted to cover it, so you don't see these crack lines. But should another tenant come in later on, they can remove it. We're not trying to damage or further, just more or less preserve what's there behind the metal panel.
But if we're saying that we wanted to maintain the historic facade, and if it's repairable or restorable, or fixable, then I would, what everybody else thinks here.
There's like large portions of it, because it's not just cracked, right? We're talking about holes. If it comes to a marble guy, like, say he says, listen, you can't really repair this, we have to just cut this piece out and put a new piece in. Where's because it's not just cracks. That's kind of like the point here. It's not just like, if it was just a crack, yeah, we could maybe fill the seam.
Can we handle that on site?
Like a
Yes,
DRC.
I was just going to say that. I think we do that. But, so,
But I would move to deny this application for the storefront and move to accept the signage as shown.
And removal of the awning.
and removal of the awning.
Removal of the awning, yes.
Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, then I think we should vote. Oh, wait.
Just one issue. Do we need to, with this motion, also state that we will, the design review committee will review the marble on site and make a determination at a later date?
Well, that's the store.
Upon that review?
Right, that's the storefront.
Right, but we're denying the application, we're stating that it's not appropriate, right? We're denying the certificate of appropriateness with respect to the storefront.
When someone comes to us and they want to repair something, forget about this whole new storefront kind of thing. Isn't that something where the minor applications committee can meet, or design review can
Right,
meet
this-
there to look at the repair?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so that's all
But
we're
no,
saying.
I'm not disagreeing, but how do we phrase that within
In the
our-
motion, within
in
the
our
motion, that's all we're saying, yeah. So I would,
Go ahead.
so I would just say,
I would
You have it,
say,
John?
I would say we deny it and let them come to us and say they want to repair, they want us to look at, separately, look at then we're not agreeing to anything.
just legally, Janine, if we deny the entire, if we say it's not appropriate, we deny the C of A, can we then go on site and review the marble separately? Or do they need to have a whole new application at that point? Which is what I'm trying to avoid them having to do.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
I think, if it were a minor repair, which, obviously the applicant thinks it's not, and therefore we don't know what's going to happen in the field, we don't know how you're going to view what they're going to show you. Once you've denied it, they have to reapply, they have to renotice and everything else.
Yeah.
So my suggestion would be to deny everything except the marble, and to defer that to the minor work committee, or whatever we call it in this town.
Design, review committee? Are we doing DRC, or are we doing
Yeah, what do we went into the field when we...
revisions committee?
Revisions.
Okay,
Revisions
the
committee?
revision, and
Yeah.
to defer the marble still to the revisions committee.
So then I would revise the motion.
Oh, he's already
To
got
say-
signage in the motion.
We're
He's
going to,
Oh,
Okay.
wait.
Can we ask you guys a question, just the legal matters?
Sure.
Can we,
Kind of based off of what John said.
yeah, just what you guys are discussing right now, can we approve the signage?
yes.
And can we do the thing that we were just talking about with the marble? And can we present a new storefront to you guys, storefront option, without having to renotice and do all this other stuff?
Would,
But you just, doesn't sound that way.
would it make sense for them to not withdraw, but to?
You can't, yeah, if you withdraw, you have to
I'm not looking to
Can-
renote it, yeah.
Right.
Come back to the committee with a new option for a storefront?
Well, then,
You could ask them if they'd like to not have you vote on this and to adjourn it.
That?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like us to not
yeah,
vote and adjourn?
And adjourn to come back with
It's
a,
something you guys would be
Absolutely.
comfortable with, right?
Well, happy to see what.
Yeah, and of course.
Right, right,
I
right.
just,
No,
like,
no.
I don't want to wait, like, I don't want to waste your guys' time. I can't afford to waste more time, so I don't want to, would it be worth it to actually propose?
So you're wondering,
and ask?
what are the odds of us saying,
I'm not
rip
saying,
the,
like, yeah, obviously,
rip
like,
the
I'm not
storefront.
saying, hey, on,
Yeah.
you know, April
Yeah.
25th, you told me that I could do it, and now you're saying, you know, it's not like, but like, is there a world where you see that that's a feasible option?
Well, we don't know what you're going to present.
I think the only option that we have to present to you guys, besides just keeping what's there and putting in new glass and maybe patching a few things here and there, is to do what Mr.
Remnitz, yeah.
was suggesting, is we recreate what the exterior of the storefront looks like in terms of the profile of the metal, and on the backside, it's going to be something different that is going to be able to accept the insulated glass.
Well, is this something you could get together for our next meeting, which is May 9th?
How late are you guys here tonight?
Motion
I don't
to-
know.
I'm not gonna do it.
Doesn't the clock strike at 10? Yeah. I would say I wouldn't necessarily, based on what you just said, I'd be open to seeing what you would propose.
Okay, 'cause
Okay,
that's-
I don't dismiss it right away.
Right.
I understand the historic fabric and not losing just that, but I'd be
Yeah.
open to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, because we were trying to respect what the storefront looked like, but we were trying to do it in the newer technology, but yeah, I understand where everyone's coming from here.
Yeah.
And I think that may be an option, but we have to run the numbers again and try to figure out how that would all work, so.
If I could just add, having done a couple steel storefronts to mimic a historic one, or maybe just not, that's a completely different category of storefront in terms of cost to do this correctly.
Yeah.
If you were with a Courtier storefront, you're actually faithfully going to recreate those profiles in a modern storefront with IGUs. I mean, this is like 5-10x. It's a completely different storefront. I've heard this be proposed many times, this type of design. In Hoboken, I don't think I can point to one example where this actually got done well, where someone said, I have this Art Deco storefront, very thin sight lines, this and that, it's plate glass, I'm going to IGU, I'm going to recreate the profiles. It never really works. They show us details, sometimes they're believable, and in the end, you end up with these fat mullions and a lot of silicon sealant. I don't think we're asking, I think we're saying less is more for this application, not.
It's been the theme for the evening, I
Yeah.
agree. I am wondering if we can approve the signage and maybe adjourn the other portion of this, if you do want to come back.
Bifurcate the
Can
application?
we bifurcate the application? Like, I don't know if you need to order things for the signs
It-
and get the awnings out, but,
You have to ask the applicant to consent to adjourn technically, and then you vote on that.
okay.
But if you say you'd like to adjourn the application with the exception of signage, which can go forward to a vote tonight, go ahead and say it, and
You
then.
good with that? Do you understand what the other is? All right, so we.
Okay, so you're.
Okay, so you're consenting to an adjournment to May 9th, 7:30, and no further notice.
With the approval of the signage.
With the approval, yeah, well, they haven't formally
With a
voted
vote
yet,
on the
but we
sign.
understand
Yes,
that
yes.
that's, okay.
Yes, we are.
All
Okay,
right,
so
so
you-
that's the motion.
Okay,
The motion is to adjourn this application with the exception of signage to May 9th, no further notice, and to vote on the signage.
Okay, motion to adjourn the application with the exception of the signage
and awning removal.
and awning removal, which we vote to, we will approve. Is that coming out right?
Well, you forgot to say to May 9th.
Ah, sorry. Try this again. All right, motion to adjourn the application until May 9th with the exception of the awning removal and signage, which
We approve.
we approve.
Okay, second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Yeah, we don't need, should we do a roll call vote?
You have to call the roll, but
Oh, you have to call the roll?
just
Okay.
put the X's on it.
Since it's a
Okay,
CFA.
yes,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so
Bye,
we'll
guys.
see you on May 9th?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Thank you, guys.
Okay, no, thank you.
both. All right.
Okay.
That debate took all the whole audience.
All right, guys, thank you.
Thank you. guys.
Good night.
I think that's it on our agenda. Oh, we have discussion.
Just, I think we should, Chair, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Apologies, Chair. I was just going to say, I think that we should get our ad hoc committee on the master plan
Exactly, we're moving,
moving. Yeah, we need to meet sooner rather than later.
right, okay. And my question to that was, I wanted to ask you, Stephen, about possible, if we need to revisit our HP element of the master plan. We're waiting on a grant from the CLG for the second part of the Upper Montclair Commuter District, which is a survey of about over 300 structures. So is there anything that you know of in the pipeline that we could apply for assistance in, grant-wise, as a help for all of us? Another grant source that would come through fairly quickly, because we need to get this done within the next year, I believe.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I don't, but there's grants available.
Right.
Every week of every month, so I'll look into it and I'll
If
let
you
you know.
would, that would be great, because I think that would help us.
I believe it's 2025 is when we have to.
Yeah, it's 2025, so.
Redo the master plan. yeah.
Right.
And what are the costs associated with that, other than us getting together and it has to get whatever we touch gets rewritten in some way? Is that
I
the
think that would
cost?
be the cost, right? Having a professional rewrite our
Having a
recommendations
professional
and draft.
revisit what we have,
Yeah.
which was written in 2015 or whatever.
Okay.
And then, but I'm suggesting applying for a grant to do that.
Uh-huh.
And I know that there are grants, I just haven't had the opportunity to look at.
Is there a way to evaluate how much this will cost ahead of time?
Well, I
Can
think
we
that-
have Steve look at it and say,
Well, the last one that was written, that we had, the HP element, I thought that was 25,000,
25,000?
yeah. No, that-
Janine's like, I'm up in my legal fees, right?
That's not, doesn't, I mean,
say 20 to 40.
right,
Is that-
that's not,
wow.
They're typically pretty involved documents.
Wow.
no, you've seen our HP element, yeah, it's a pretty involved, it is. I mean, we could rewrite it,
Rewrite it, but you're talking about the graphics and everything else.
Right.
It's the whole composition, a whole
Right.
new
right, a whole new,
element. Mhm.
right.
Now, was the 2015 one a re-exam, or was that from scratch? 'Cause that'll drive.
That was a re-exam of the original HP element, which was like 10 pages. I mean, it wasn't,
So they basically rewrote.
Oh, yeah.
It was from scratch, effectively.
exactly, yeah.
You have a good one already, a re-exam of that now, 8 years later. It's probably on the lower end of that spectrum of costs. It should be a tremendous lift.
Why, did
Because you do
you?
have a good one to begin with. Some towns are starting with 10-page ones, and
Right, right.
they have to make them real documents that are 100 pages long. So everybody's something to read on the weekend.
Wouldn't the first step be to meet and examine it and see what we're concerned about or what we think needs to be changed?
Oh, yeah.
Rather than throwing out the whole baby with the bathwater?
Oh, and, yeah.
See what, and, yeah, okay, so that's probably the first step, right?
Well, that's why we should meet. It's the
Okay.
three of us are on that,
Okay,
right?
okay, yeah,
All right.
great.
Okay, great.
So that's Mike, Kathy, and John.
John. We should meet before May, and then, before our next meeting.
Next meeting is to report back a little bit.
Right, report back, and then maybe at that point, we'll have an idea of what, and time-wise, whether this will fit in with what we're looking at.
Sure.
To accomplish it.
I'm not going anywhere, really.
So we're finished with that discussion? Another point of discussion, in our packet, we got it's a bill from Sofferman Lankin, which is Janine's services, And are we supposed to approve this, Fawa? I didn't quite understand why this was in our packet.
Janice will be emailing you about this. 1 second. And I think it's also for approval.
Yeah,
What's
because-
that? Say that again?
It is for approval.
On the planning board, we do approve all bills.
Right.
So I think that makes sense to do that here as well.
Yeah, it's just that we've never approved a
Bills.
bill like this before. So, has everyone had the opportunity to look at this?
Yeah, we'll see.
It was in our packet.
I have an extra
I'm not
copy
getting
if you want.
packets for whatever reason.
Sorry, what was that?
Does anyone need an extra copy?
I just lent mine to John.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. Nick, have you reviewed it?
Yeah.
I could say that all of my phone calls are were legit. Usually, like, pick up the phone.
Yeah, I mean, I have no comment on anything other than the attendance at the meetings.
Okay.
Any correspondence, but
All right, so then may I have a motion to approve the bill as, for Sofferman Lankin,
It's
Blumstein-
Schaeferman,
Schaeferman, Lakin, Blumstein, and Blatter.
You just say the first two.
All
Yeah.
right.
Motion to approve the
Second.
bills for Schaeferman Lakin.
Okay,
Second.
okay, so we have two. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. So I think that, any other points of discussion before we,
Barley. So normally attorney bills are,
convene?
Yep.
Not convene, disperse.
Yeah.
All right,
Adjourn.
so, motion to.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Is the TV still running?
Bring it back.
Yeah, he's back.